Kronstrøm.
Very
Yeah,
good,
I
very
did it.
good.
Director de Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies. Y vamos a traer también a Jeff Burton. Jeff, come here.
No, I will begin and then
You begin?
I'll call him.
Okay, so you start first.
I
then.
start first,
I was
yes.
supposed to sit him here, but no.
Ah.
You want him there? Okay, we'll
Yeah,
stay
he can
there
sit here as well. Jeff
Okay.
can-
So Peter, all yours. Start.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm Peter Kronstrøm. So, first of all, I would like to say thank you to the government for inviting us. It's very nice to be here. It's very exciting. I lived 4 years in this city, in Buenos Aires, 8 years ago.
All right.
And I love this city, and I think South America is an amazing place. So let's hurry a little bit with the presentation. We do future studies, and I'll give a little, very fast introduction to what that is. So here you see who we are. So we are coming from Copenhagen, and now we have an office in Sao Paulo where I'm the director. And as you can see of this picture, there is really a lot of difference between Copenhagen and Latin America in terms of chaos and in terms of order and in terms of how we are doing things. And I have the belief that a lot of the skills that you have in America, in Latin America, is going to be crucial to have success in the future. So, and our experience from the Institute about going out in the world has been really crucial in order to develop and in order to figure out where are the new things happening. And you learn so much when you go to other places that are far away from home and very different. So this is our founding father. He was a friend of Kennedy, and we were founded in 1970. And we believe in that we are a multidisciplinary think tank. So we believe that you need to involve all different kinds of disciplines in order to plan for the future effectively. And we do that by offering strategy and innovation, live inspiration, and via a membership network. So this is a little bit about the jobs we do, some of the companies we work for, and then we also have some publications that can all be seen. So here you have a part of our researchers. And this is our structure in Latin America, where we have an office in Sao Paulo, and one here in Argentina, and one in Chile. So what is future studies? Just let me try to see how many of you have actively been involved with future studies. Yeah, that's very, because I could see a lot of synergies with your presentation in the beginning, Thomas. That was great. So I think that future studies and foresight and to concern about what is going to happen tomorrow is actually, we believe, is very crucial in order to have success. And we have a case for you today that I think shows this very nicely. So, it's nothing, sorry for the Portuguese language, but future studies has nothing to do with prevision, nor astrology, and nor uforology. Actually, if you see our name, the Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies, it's in plural. And why is it in plural? It's because the future does not exist. And there are many possible futures, there are many different futures that are possible. So we need to always look at the future as being created right now in the present, and it's our responsibility to do that creation the best way for ourselves and for the planet. And so what is the problem with prediction? This is a little bit of an old example, but still very valid in the world we're living in today. And so I think this is very interesting, because this is the front page of The Economist within the same year. So as you can see that there was a big promise for Brazil, which I still believe a huge potential in all of Latin America. But as you can see, this is the new reality is highly uncertain. And we actually don't know. What seems a promising market one day is losing its speed the next day. And so what we are experiencing at the moment is a paradigm shift, and several paradigm shifting Thomas, he also talked a little bit about it. We're going a dramatic shift on how we have our institutions to become more and more community-based. And here you can see the way we interact socially is also changing very dramatically. And this is one of our scenarios from the past. This is actually the dream society. It's a scenario that we developed more than 15 years ago, and we have seen become more and more truth. So we are moving from an industrial logic to a much more emotional-based logic. And I don't know how many of you have heard about the 4 Ps. Product, price, product, place, price, and promotion. We believe that this marketing tool is no longer valid, and we need to think much more about solution, access, value, and education. And this is some of the toolbox of future studies. We work with megatrends, scenario projections, and wildcards. Wildcards is a phenomenon that's called the black swans. It's the unexpected that is causing dramatic change and radical changes the game. And we are seeing more and more of those happening all the time. So how do we prepare effectively? And here a little bit about megatrends. It's a way of putting structure into the chaos we find in the world. So a megatrend is not like the fashion color. It's not what will happen next year. It's not what will happen in 2 years. It is major driving forces that are radically changing our world. And we always say that they have to have a long durability. So our megatrends that we work with at the Institute has at least 10 to 15 years durability, and some even more. Like globalization. Globalization have more than 1,000 years of being a driving force in this world. So these are the actual megatrends that we are working with at the Institute. And there's a lot more information available on our website. But here you can see the 14s that we believe are relevant and will shape the world the next 10, 15 years. So here we have them in Portuguese as well. And so one of the first megatrends I will talk a little bit about is acceleration and complexity. So here you see the interesting fact is that this is the time it took before 25% of the American household had implemented a new technology. So you can see with electricity, it took 46 years. And now with the World Wide Web, it's 7 years. The latest number is the smartphone, which was down to two or 3 years before 25% is having it. So we are living in a world that is even more and more accelerated. Here we have another figure. This is showing the Fortune 500 companies, the Fortune 1000 companies. And you can see from 73 to 83, the replacement rate was about 35%. Now that number is up to 70%. So what we know and what we do is not necessarily enough. And we need to always look for new ways of doing things. And just another question to this acceleration. How long time do you think the average holding time of a stock is today? How long time would you guess it is? Anyone knows this number? So you all know what a stock is. It's 2.2 seconds due to automated transactions. So this is, here we see, so Latin America, you have a long history, and it's maybe especially Argentina, but all Latin American countries have what you would call cyclic economies. So you have, you're very, very well positioned to handle economic crisis, and you know what to do. I always use an example when I'm back in Denmark, and then I tell them about the crisis here in 2001. I don't know if you know, Denmark is a very stable country. Good economy, and really running very stable. So, but we believe at the Institute that the new reality and the world as we've seen it is not stable. It's going to be more and more fragmented and more economic crisis. And so I always say, if we in Denmark had a crisis like you guys had here in 2001, I'm pretty sure that Denmark would not exist anymore. We would have given up and become part of Germany. But so I truly believe that the Latin American capability of handling crisis and keep continuing is a very strong talent and a very strong ability for the future. So a little bit about network society. I'm running over some slides a bit quickly here. But so in the Institute, we have another scenario that we believe in, that we are seeing more and more. And it's from in last century, we were more and more satisfied with all the things that we consume. We got all our needs satisfied. Food, clothes, everything. And now today, people are having problems. We have TV programs where we help people to clean up their lives and get rid of all the things. So we call this scenario freedom from owning. And it's also freedom from ownership, where transactions are not being have the same value anymore. What is more relevant is the relationship. And that is also a shift we see in product, where we go from product to services, as this example communicates. And then what are the benefits over access over ownership? How many of you know Uber? Uber, yeah. So it's an application where you just with a smartphone and a car, you can offer a taxi service. Very, very changing dramatically the scenario in many cities for transport. So it gives convenience and integration. I reckon that all of you know Airbnb, which today is the biggest hotel corporation. And that gives flexibility and mobility. Waze, social over hierarchy. I don't know how it is here in Buenos Aires. Are you using Waze? It's changing the traffic in Sao Paulo. Thanks God, it is helping people to actually know what time they're going to arrive or giving them a chance to plan ahead. And then, of course, Netflix, we see everything when we want to see it. We are no longer slaves of television stations. So this is also built up to another scenario that we developed 6-7 years ago that's called an economy. There's a parallel economy developing next to the official economy, facilitated by new technology. And it's especially in this area we see a lot of potential for startup companies and for making new organizations. So, what are we thinking about in the Institute? We always say that we cannot know, we cannot predict what the future has, but we have to think ahead. And we have to try and prepare for the huge changes that are coming. So this is just a historic example from Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies. And this says that before 2005, we must expect China and India to be future competitors and potential markets. And if you notice, when was this made? In 1980. I don't remember 1980, thank God. But I don't know how many of you remember 1980, but in 1980 it was there was very, very few people who thought about China and India ever having any importance in their future for their business and their organizations. And I think today we are having a wonderful guy with us, Jeff Burton, and he is coming with a story that is actually embedded with the ability to have some kind of foresight and also to know what is important for the future. So welcome Jeff Burton, he will come here.
Thanks. Okay. I have to apologize for my voice. I blame it on Istanbul. I was there 2 weeks ago, and it started to affect. I think it's the smog that started getting to me, and it's sort of culminating, I hope, after this. But I wish I'd done it beforehand. Still, what I want to talk about is I was one of the team members who started Electronic Arts from the first dinner that we had, 6 of us together, in 1982, in July. We formed the company in August of that year, got our funding in November of that year. And we shipped our first products in June of 1983. But I'm going to show you today some things that not a lot of people have seen ever. You're all too young to have seen our first print ad, but I want to show it to you. The title of it was, "Can a Computer Make You Cry?" Back in '82, most people didn't think about computers in any kind of emotional terms. And yet, that was what was driving us, I think, largely to put into software, into the gaming software, an emotional appeal. We had to try to, people didn't know why they wanted a home computer. In fact, they said they didn't want a home computer. We had to come up with ways of getting them to buy a home computer to play our games. But we treated our artists, we treated the programmers. None of us was a programmer. We were all executives from other companies and in our 30s. We hired these artists, or licensed their products actually, and we treated them like artists. We called them artists. We had producers that worked with them. And this photograph in our first ad was taken by the same Hollywood photographer that took the photos of the Beatles for their black and white album. So we tried to create this mystique around artists because they really were the most creative part of the company. And I'm going to show you some clips from a video we made in '83 that talks about how we all felt about the situation with software at that time. What I think, and I hope it portrays and lets you know, is that what you know now about electronic arts was born in our minds 32 years ago. It's still valid today. That's still some of the things that are said, like what it's like to be a founder of a company, are still carry weight and are appropriate for today. So I've got a series of videos I want to show. Let's see if I can
We're at the start of things, and it's just settling down. How this business is really going to be run and organized is, I think electronic arts is going to be one of the leaders because of the professionalism of the people that are planning the organization and doing a lot of thinking about the structure of the artist relative to the producer inside the company, relative to the production and distribution aspects all being, integrated into one package. It's more or less where the thinking's got to be. It used to be just a guy in his garage can start selling. And that's still true today to some extent. But it doesn't go very far. And Budge could tell you, you can try that and you get your family involved in working on it. But in the end, you really need to understand how to market the product as well as develop it.
Right. So Steve Wozniak was on our board and an investor early in the company. And I think, what he was talking about was prior to our establishment, individuals were selling software at local stores in plastic baggies, and we changed all of that. And I'd say today, individuals again can do their own software and distribute it through the online stores, which is a tremendous opportunity. Again, this is probably the best time ever to start a software company. Much better than when we did. Next, I use this clip to describe what is an entrepreneur.
In order for us to do what we are trying to do, we have to be obsessed, and we have to be a little bit arrogant, and we have to be a little bit cocky about having a sense of possibilities that are open to us that aren't open to others because of our convictions. And if we didn't feel that way, if we didn't even have a little bit of sense of not knowing what we don't know, and if we were too conscious of the pitfalls, if we were too conscious of the obstacles, we might lose our conviction. And we really do have the sense of really being obsessed with it and really believing that we know how to do it better than everybody else. And that may seem arrogant, but if we didn't feel that way, we wouldn't be able to pull it off. And it's because we feel that way that we're going to.
So that was Trip Hawkins, who was our CEO. He and I were in business school together. 5 of the 6 of us that had that first dinner together were Stanford grads. And I show this video, this clip of Trip, because it really does describe the attitude that is prevalent now, still, in the Bay Area from startup founders. They have to believe in themselves to the extent that because it's so hard, always so hard to do a startup and succeed at it, that you have to have this sort of deep felt belief, which we all did, that we had something special, that we knew what we were doing better than anybody else could do it. And as he said, that may sound arrogant, but it's required. I see it in the startup companies that I now work with. I'm the executive director of UC Berkeley's startup accelerator called Skydeck Berkeley. And we have 36 companies there. And there's just a way to tell that somebody is absolutely convinced that he or she knows better than anybody else, has special knowledge that's going to carry them through the hard times of starting a company. So some of the other basis for what we were thinking about, I'll show you here.
Parents want products that have educational value, but products that their children are going to want to use. Kids that are interested in computing, they want products that are fantastically entertaining and exciting and compelling. And that's really the major part of the market.
We're focusing on younger people, and education is the most important thing in their lives, and entertainment is the most interesting thing, and it's usually divergent from education. All of a sudden with computers, we've got technology marrying the two together in a way that might be very productive.
Now that particular attitude, education and entertainment, we pushed that when we were in 1982. It turned out not to be the case until now. Now it's happening. Young people are using games to learn. And it's a tremendous opportunity to take advantage of that now. I know some schools in the Netherlands that are K-6, and they are using only iPads and software, gaming software on iPads to learn everything, and they're tremendously successful. Uh-oh. Let's go back. One of the videos that had Bill Budge talking about a software friend.
It's possible for a computer to provide a world where the rules are open-ended, where if you're flying around a planet and decide to take off toward that star, you can.
We can evoke in people a sense of, wonder, curiosity, intrigue, maybe a little smile for a grandson who learned how to do something on a grandfather's machine.
I'd like to write some software that interacts with you in a way that's really close to the way a person would interact with you. You may become attached to some of the software characters, and you may develop emotional feelings about some of the personalities in the software. That's why I've been mentioning the idea of a software friend. And that sort of should be built into a computer, but it can be built into a program too.
A lot of good designs just cause you to smile. I mean, you look at it and you want to smile.
So what we were trying to do was create an emotional connection with the software that was running on the computers. And it's always hard for me to imagine that Bill Budge, that artist that spoke, said back then he had the idea of having a software friend built into a computer. And it has really come true. In fact, all of our aspirations for how to create great software, how to get people involved, how to be a reason for somebody to buy a computer, all of that stuff came true, and we were very, very successful, and still are today. I don't know how many of you have seen FIFA football, but that is what we all envisioned being able to do 30 years ago. And so this last thing that that I accidentally showed you is, where is it going from here, I think? Three-dimensional scans of people are now common, and every new phone that's going to come out in the next 5 years will have a camera in it that will be able to create a three-dimensional 360-degree view of you. And once you have that, what are you going to do with it? Well, let's, how did I get back there? Sorry. That was a animated, let's go. One of the companies at Skydeck Berkeley did a three-dimensional scan of me standing still. And here it is. They have animated it now. I can't do that, nor would I want to. The point is that now though you'll be able to get a full body scan of yourself and have it be inserted into a game so that you can play yourself, your own image, in FIFA football, for instance, or in any of the other numerous games where you want to be a participant and fully in there. That possibility is here today. And so I think what's important is to keep in mind the fact that you must think big and sort of dream about what you can do, because it's possible to do it. Thanks.
I want to show you something very interesting. Look at this. Not so bad.
No, that's good. Did you want to have some questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Come on in.
Shall we sit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
If you want to. Peter, very interesting indeed. You and your last slide, and you were saying what people say in 180, said about India and China, and I find it very interesting. And you show a big pyramid. Tell me, dear Peter, in 2014, what is the next challenge? What do you see in the future? What will be, for Copenhagen Institute, what do you see in the future? What is more important?
What is more important?
More important, what do you think is the big line? Where are we going to?
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good question, and it's very difficult to answer.
I know that. That's what I asked you. I have the easy part. You have the hard part.
I think you were pretty good onto it. We also believe a lot that Indonesia is way too many countries have way too little focus on Indonesia and the rest of the world. I mean, we believe that the next 50 years the world will never have seen a larger economic growth scenario in the history.
Okay.
But as you said as well, that growth will be fragmented, and it will happen periodically, and it's difficult to tell exactly where that growth is coming from. Yeah.
All right.
And many things. I mean, what we always try to say to our clients and people that come close to us is that it's not about predicting the future. That is very important, because that is impossible.
Yeah.
The thing is to being able to imagining alternative futures that we can't imagine today, so that as a company, as a startup, as a person, so that you're prepared for radical different futures, and that you know how to act in all of these scenarios. Yeah.
What I found very interesting about it is that you don't have a predefined future. We are going to build that future.
Exactly.
The idea is to try to, what you say about the dream, is what kind of future we want, no?
Exactly.
You know, that's the most difficult part.
Alan Kay, a futurist, used to say the best way to predict the future is to create it.
Is to create it, yeah. That's the idea. That's what we are here for, to create a future.
Yeah.
What I find interesting about one of the videos you show, this is for Jeff now, the interesting thing you say, we were expecting all the travels we were going to have, or something like that.
we were expecting.
Yeah.
I think you said we didn't know. We didn't. There were.
You know that you were
We
going to
didn't
face
know
many
enough
challenges.
to know what we were gonna run into. If we'd known all the troubles we would have, we probably wouldn't have done it.
Okay.
So you have to keep some blinders on in those early stages of a startup company, because you will hit walls that are just feel impenetrable. And if you had known that when you started, you might not have done it.
What happened when usually you start? Because the first time I saw a computer, I remember that. It was more kind of the first one I showed before. If you start talking to me in 1982, 83 about to create emotional relationship with a computer, I would say you were mad.
And a lot of people
I
did
know a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to be a little bit mad to make some things. I did be a little bit crazy to broke some. I predefine things that people think that this is the way the things should be, and you start breaking down, or not necessarily.
Well, I think that it takes a creative genius, and there are a lot of them all over the world. I see that all the time as I travel.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes those people are marginalized in the mainstream society, but it's their capability that drives a lot of new projects and innovations. I'd say, you know, the Oculus Rift is, I don't know if anybody's seen that, but it's goggles that create a three-dimensional
reality,
virtual reality. It's fantastic. I think that's going to change
I never see it,
the way everybody thinks about everything.
Yeah. Do you think the younger generation will be more capable to build a better future or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see it right now because I work with 20-year-olds who are just out of university. And they're brilliant, and they're driven, and they're motivated. And one of the things that I know that they say and believe about themselves now that we didn't in 1982, 30 years ago, they believe they're going to change the world. And
They
say
believe that, no? They say
Yeah,
that.
they do.
And they may be going to do it.
I think they will.
Something I worry about it is when you want to build a future, we need to talk about, let's say, for example, how people learn, education, whatever. And usually we see the people are learning mostly by themselves, create in a community knowledge, not individual. How do you think can we inspire that and to make a more potential thing of that? No, you think because we have old schools, old teachers, new things. How can we change that to make to make this culture to be more creative? What do you think about it, Peter?
Well, we at the institute we have a guy who is the only toy researcher in Denmark, and he used to develop toys for Lego 20 years ago. And we talk about that that we are undergoing a radical paradigm shift on how we approach education, from being, of course, the old teapot metaphor where we just put knowledge into people, and to now that we have knowledge and information abundance, we need to train people in being more wise and figure out how to go for exactly that wisdom that can help them, because we can learn so much and there's so much information out there that we can't really cope with it. I mean, just an example. Today, if you take the New York Times, the New York, what's the newspaper called? New York Times, and you read it for 1 week, only 1 week, you get the same amount of information that a person in the 18th century got in a whole lifetime. So we need we need to change how we are finding this wisdom to form and create the future. And one of the things that we believe a lot in is that it comes from enabling children to play free. And that's also the whole creativity paradigm and creative man. In order to create, we need to play freely and like go into a flow and find the wisdom that is out there.
You create a good phrase, I see there, that is anarchonomy,
Yes.
anarch-economy.
Yeah,
In Argentina, we know what that is, what we have
Exactly.
here all the time, okay? So for Argentina, it's not new.
Exactly, that's what
That doesn't scare us.
Exactly.
Do you scare us? Huh?
Exactly. But that is people in Europe, they get scared from an economy. Like all the old guard, they get scared from an economy. But that's also what I believe and what I love about Latin America is that it's a very paradoxical society. I've lived here now for 8 years, but in that paradoxical society, there is a spark, there is a flame, and there is a passion to both drive down or destroy the old ways of doing things and going into the new things, both by the spark and passion, but also by necessity and by the some of the structural problems that are in here as well. No?
Jeff, you say that this may be the best moment to build a software company.
Is now.
It's now.
Yeah.
So hurry up.
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Because of the internet and mobile phones, communications today
But
are
you say-
so. There's so many more people. The market's so much bigger. There's billions of people now that's part of the market, and you can segment 1 billion off here and 1 billion off there, and address their needs and make a tremendous success. We used to have to reproduce software on a floppy disk and package it and ship it to
They
a
didn't
store.
know what is a floppy disk.
I know. Nobody knows floppy disk.
Sorry about it. I have to explain. It's a little diskette.
So now, all that's, now you can reach 5 billion people instantly. It's a
But
great time.
you don't have a lot of competition also?
A lot of what?
Competition. Because it's
Yeah, but there's
much
so many
easier
people,
to get
that's
there.
okay. And there's such
we
a
have
huge
many
market.
places, yeah.
Yeah. You can you don't need all 5 billion people to be successful.
No, that's right. No.
You can be successful with hundreds of millions.
Not so bad, no? 100
No.
millions.
No, great.
That seems big. Jeff, what do you think is the next step for the software companies or for the computer? Because you build a relation between emotion and practice. What do you think is the next one? Easy question.
Yeah.
Not answer.
Yeah. I suspect that they will get into more three-dimensional things.
To more what?
More three-dimensional, 3D. That's becoming much more popular, much more available. I think that's where the tools are leading. Virtual reality is entirely possible now. I think that's where they'll move, because it is so engaging to be just in the Oculus, using these Oculus goggles.
Yeah.
Facebook bought Oculus for I forget how many billions of dollars, but they're going to turn that into a huge win for them. And I think the gaming companies are going to jump right in too. So instead of sitting in front of a screen, you're going to be wearing goggles.
Yeah, I don't imagine myself in that, but maybe young people over there. Peter, give us, if you want to see the future, give us just, what is the most important thing you see in the future?
In the future, yeah. I believe a lot technology and software will facilitate that we will have easier and easier lives, and will make life more and more seamless. That's also what one of the central things to the Dream Society's scenario is that it will be more and more within our power to really create the world we want to live in our day. But with that said, we also, I don't know if you guys remember, one of our mega trends is polarization. That is both economic polarization, polarization within the same country, polarization between rich and poor, polarization between technology savvy and not technology savvy. So at the same time as we will see a larger and larger middle class and a larger and larger upper class that will have more and more capability of actually living and realizing their dream, we will unfortunately also have a huge part of the world that will not be able to realize those dreams. So I think that one of the challenges for the future and one of the big tasks that lies in all our hands is how to honestly try and lift up as many people as we can to that life that we want to live.
If your life comes really easier, come to live here again and
Yes,
We're going to change that.
Well, yes, no, I would love to. Thanks God, I'm coming quite a lot to Buenos Aires, and I'm living in Sao Paulo now, so it's very close. And I think that both Argentina and Brazil are wonderful countries with this enormously creativity and this enormous much liberty to break away from old habits. Because one of the things I saw that a little bit. I used to live in Spain 10 years ago, and in many countries where you had very unstable times, I believe that there's an energy that cuts away the past much more fast and efficient, and embrace the new and go full on, because what we saw in the past did not work, and maybe it's not for us, so we are ready to try the new. Whereas in my country, which I love to death, and it's a great country, innovative and everything, but many people have a little bit of fear of letting go, because we never really were shook. So people always think the way we do it is the best way. And I think that's the most dangerous in looking at the future.
Peter, Jeff, thank you very much for coming here. Welcome to Buenos Aires, and enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Un aplauso.